Hello, I'm Rex, and welcome to Babel Planet. We are all learning languages for different reasons, but the most common one is to be able to communicate with people who don't come from the same place we do. When we don't speak the same language, you usually have to get a person who translates for you. But translation is expensive, and very often some questionable decisions are made regarding what to translate and when to translate it. And sometimes creators don't consider the consequences of not giving their translators enough information. And yes, I am talking about that scene of Game of Thrones, in case you're wondering. All of this makes many people wish for something simpler. Like, imagine if you could speak in your own language and the other person heard it in theirs, in real time. Wouldn't that be fantastic? It would be easier than spending years learning any language you're likely to encounter, and it would definitely be cheaper than having a personal interpreter following you around wherever you go. Thankfully, our friends at Waverly Labs have already come up with a solution. They invented a device that can translate everything you say in real time, no internet connection needed, freeing you from language barriers, according to their website. Isn't this awesome? Finally, technology caught up with everyone's wishes. So many people will be able to travel, so many businesses will be accomplished. Sure, many translators will lose their jobs, but that's the price of progress. Except something doesn't quite add up here. This technology is not only way beyond our time, it's practically impossible to achieve. And not just because computers are not so powerful or engineers are busy curing, space cancer or something like that. No, the real reason why this makes no sense is because of linguistics, and now I'm going to explain why. First of all, let me clear something up. Computer translation is impossible, and it's not Google's fault that their translator makes such incoherent ramblings. The same way Microsoft isn't discriminating when Cortana only works with some accents and not others. Computers are largely logical and follow perfectly established patterns, but if you've been watching so far into this show, you already know languages are anything but. Sure, there are rules, and you can follow them and make yourself understood, but making yourself understood is not at all the same as speaking a language. Hell, I'm talking to you in English, one of the most nonsensical languages there are. From spelling to grammar to pronunciation, the only reason English makes any sense is because it takes all the cool bits of other languages and uses them the way it wants. It's pretty much like going to a Chinese buffet, grabbing one of everything on the menu, putting it in a blender and making a Chinese smoothie. Yeah, it works to keep you alive, but it bypasses every rule known to human cuisine. Sorry, I got a bit out of track there. Where was I? Alright, the reason humans are needed to translate is something called semantics. Basically, this is the study of meaning in speech. All we've talked about so far has been about grammar, but something can make grammatical sense and still not make semantical sense. Let me show you. Jackson was stapling a sprinkle of slime when your broomstick started peeling off the curtains nearby. If you notice, that sentence is grammatically correct, but it means nothing but chaos and confusion because those words never go together in that way. A computer would not find any faults in it though, while a human translator would realize that the ghost of Lewis Carroll was pranking them and call the author to find out if that was actually the text they wanted or if they had an aneurysm in the middle of typing. Another big problem would be poetic speech. In the last video, I talked about how poets use language in their favor to create beauty. However, things like rhymes or alliteration would not translate at all to other languages. Also, we've talked about cursing and slurs and how people don't always mean wrong, but also don't always use the correct vocabulary for the situation. Imagine, for example, you're translating an official report from the Spanish king and he refers to a group of people as los negros. How do you translate that? The blacks, black people, the Negroes, African Americans, that other word that will get me a lot of dislikes? You need to know the context to figure out if he was trying to offend them or if he simply was out of touch with politically correct speech. And a computer does not have the ability to discern that. We would have to be talking about true artificial intelligence, and by the time we get there, we'll probably have to start begging Skynet to let us live. Or something, I don't know, I never really saw Terminator. I should. Finally, and just so you know I'm not simply scared for my job security, here's the same sentence in 4 different languages to exemplify why real-time translation is simply not gonna happen. I think there is some flour over there, so don't go. Creo que hay algo de harina por allí, así que no vayas. Je crois qu'il y a un peu de farine là-bas, alors n'y allez pas. Sono tokoroni, kona gari maskara, ikanai de kudasai. If you speak any of these languages, you already know what the problem is. Actually, the many problems. For example, the English "to be there" works perfectly with the French y avoir, but Spanish has a completely different verb for this, haber, that doesn't fit the pattern a machine would use. Also, the Japanese arimasu can be aru or gozaimasu, depending on your familiarity with the listener, and the part that indicates where the flower is goes in the middle in all the other languages, but in Japanese it goes at the beginning. So by the time your Frenchman stops talking, you're gonna have to go back to the beginning and somehow add that part to the start of the sentence. In the end, there are only two ways you could have real-time translation for this sentence. Either you modify psychic waves in both the speaker and listener at the same time, like a Babel fish in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or you go back and forth in time, like the TARDIS translation circuit in Doctor Who. Otherwise, there will be lag, whether you want it or not. Thinking about all of this got me to start considering something. Who are these people? Where did they come from? I made some research and I could not find any info on the company before 2016. The only clues were the identities of its founders, Andrew Ochoa, Jeremiah Warren, Shayman Shah, and Sergio del Rio, who came up on their Indiegogo page, all students from New York University. The Global Patent Search Network didn't show anything translation related either, nor did it mention any of their names in absolutely any technology. And no inventor with such a revolutionary concept would mass produce it without a patent. So, get your dictionaries out of the trash can and pick up the grammar notes you throw on the floor, because all this means that Waverly Labs is a scam. There is no pilot system, there is no real-time machine translation, and if you gave them any money on their promise, talk to your lawyer about getting it back. I know, that's disappointing. I wanted it to happen too, but on the bright side, now you know much more about translation and why it's so important, and best of all, machines won't replace us anytime soon. So if you're looking for a career in the field, don't give up. You can even work for a TV network, translating all your favorite shows and movies. And for that, there would only be one final question to be answered: subbing or dubbing? Come back next week to find out which is better for you. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and leave your opinions in the comments. Follow me on Twitter and Tumblr for more language-related stuff, and if you helped with the subtitles for this video, this is where your name goes. Thank you for watching. Cheers to y'all!